container. Now, there has been this container created for this next level of evolution, this transformation of consciousness, whether you call it global consciousness, consciousness of oneness, which you can see is already here just by the fact the internet, global communication, the fact that we know what's happening in all parts of the world. You can see there is this global consciousness, but it isn't really fully awake yet. And this is like a consciousness of oneness. It's the next step of evolution of human consciousness, because all evolution is the evolution of human consciousness for human beings. I don't know about the plant world or the animal world or the spirit world, but for human beings, evolution means the evolution of consciousness. Because I don't know if you're aware that human beings, we are carriers of divine consciousness. That's when a human being existed separate from the animal kingdom, was when they were given this spark of divine consciousness. And then over the thousands of years, human beings evolved working with this consciousness. And in the West, in the last era, there has been this era of separation in which we've realized our individuality. This spark of divine consciousness has made us aware we are separate from each other, we are unique, we are individual. And then the next step is to take that spark of divine consciousness of our individual self and give it back to the whole. Just like in the spiritual path, you develop your light so you can give it back to God, so you can be in service to God. Now as I said, there needs to be a container for this. You can't just suddenly wake up and everybody's on the plane of divine oneness. So the container that has been created in this around the world is this web of light, which has been created. I use the expression the masters of love, those who know how to work with the light of humanity. And so this work has been done. It's almost complete. I've seen it grow in the last 20 years or so. This container for the next step of evolution. But one of the sort of little key things is that although these great beings, these masters, can do this work, it is up to humanity to live it, because we carry the divine consciousness in this world. And the web of light is in the inner worlds, in the spiritual worlds. You can see it there. It's very, very beautiful. It's called, in the East, something similar was called Indra's web, which is this beautiful. It's more to do with the web of life. Now here in this plane, we've become aware of what we call the web of life, this interconnected oneness, which includes all of creation, whether it's ecological oneness, this beautiful web of life. But the web of life isn't doing so well at the moment, yeah? Because people are manipulating it, and some people are starving when there's enough food to go around, and they're burning the rainforests and all of that. So there needs to be this connection between the web of light in the higher worlds and the web of life in this world. And the human being is the connection. And that's the little practice I gave you this morning, in which you consciously recognize you are this divine being who is part of the oneness of creation. And, you know, it is interesting because we have been so addicted by this masculine idea of doing. We've got to do something. We've got to save the world. Consciousness itself is very, very, very powerful. If you look at most spiritual traditions, they teach you that. As Sandra was saying, it is your conscious attitude that creates the world you live in. And consciousness itself is very, very powerful because it's divine. Your real consciousness is this divine spark. And if you consciously connect yourself, say, I am part of the whole of life. I am aware that I am part of the whole life. There are simple practices you can do for that. You can just, as a simple imaginative practice, in the end it stops being just imagination, because it is. You just become aware you are connected to everything. You don't want to do it all the time, because then certain practical things become difficult. But you just become consciously aware. Like we could do it here in this room for a moment. You're part of the whole of life, consciously. It's such a relief, to be part of the whole of life, because it is so exhausting being this separate individual, which, as Sandra was giving this image of this finger trying to hang around on its own, is not very pleasant. The moment you say you're part of the whole life, something and you can relax, you can let go. Oh, so, I'm part of it all. And then you know how much of our anxieties and worries are created because of this insular consciousness that we've been conditioned to believe? I mean, particularly in North America, there is this conscious conditioning, you've got to do it on your own. I mean, and for some reason in the Puritan conditioning, you're not even allowed grace. You've even got to get a God on your own, and you've got to work really hard at it. And, first of all, you can't do anything on your own. Because we're not a separate living organism. We're not a single cell floating in space. We're part of this extraordinarily beautiful, creative dance, organism, this wholeness that's creating itself and recreating itself. And we have a brief moment of experience here, and then we're going to have a slightly longer experience in the inner worlds after we died, and then we're going to be back again, and we're going to do another little twirl on this planet, and we're going to be off somewhere else. And it's continually moving, continually changing, and that's where we are. And we can either experience that, or we can live this slightly paranoid life as being this individual person, living in this box, trying really hard to make ends meet. And I know which I'd rather be doing. And so you just have to say, yeah, I'm here. I'm part of it. Show me what to do. Show me how to join in. And then, believe it or not, the other cells in the body tell the finger what to do. I mean, you don't have to think to move your finger. It just kind of moves because we're part of this organic wholeness called life. And then life will put you where you need to be. And if you need to suffer, so you're going to suffer. You try and run away from it to get somewhere else, you're going to suffer over there. And if you need to be happy at this time, you're going to be happy. And you'll do what you need to do, but it might be mundane and it might be exciting, and it doesn't matter because you're part of life. And one blade of grass isn't better than another blade of grass. And a rose does what a rose does, and a tulip does what a tulip does. And it's all one. And you're all part of it. Nobody's better and nobody's worse. And it's such a relief. And all you have to do is say, yes. It's a little thing.
And there are so many different levels that you can work on. I know that Gandhi worked on all levels. I can't. It really makes me sick. It really makes me ill. So I had to find that place where I know I'm doing something good for the planet and I'm thriving at the same time. So we all have to, we're all pieces of the puzzle. There's so many different pieces of the puzzle, and it's about all of it. It's not an either or an or. It's about all of it.
All of those things I don't have to worry about, which means I can use the freedom that I have been given to do this other work. And if you like, that's the contribution I feel that I can make. Like Sandra, I couldn't go off and battle in the outer world because it's not my nature. But it does seem, and I'm completely committed to this, a need to consciously go to this source of life and welcome it back into the world and allow oneself to be used. This is changing the dream. Allow one's consciousness to be used to create images and forms that are healing, that are beneficial, that can allow the next generation to have a life that is sacred, that is whole again. And that is just my contribution. Other people make other contributions. Like she says, people go and they fight the outer wars and God bless them. But I am drawn into this dream that is being born. And I think that I am part of my work and part of the work of actually making the gathering like this and ones we're going to continue having, making them available not just to a small select audience in Marin, but by putting them on the internet so they are freely available to anybody, is to hopefully wake up that